Well, welcome to another episode of our Eat and Drink Real Estate Podcast. My name is Scott Burgess. Today I'm here with Kristen Roussev. Hello.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Good. Well, for the folks that don't know you, why don't you kind of explain a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got in this business, that type of thing.
Okay, great. So my name is Kristen Roussev. I'm a real estate agent here in Illinois. I got into the business because I'm an investor, and I started with real estate wholesaling, and then I started to do some buy and holds and some flips. I'm currently doing a flip as we speak. But I got tired of paying real estate agents, so I said, why would I continue to pay real estate agents to do a job that I know I can do? So I shifted into the market about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so was there like a defining moment between like, now I'm a broker so I can pay myself, and that jump to like, hey, let me do this for other people? Was there something that kind of made you decide to go down that path? Or?
Yeah, so definitely. So with me more or less being in wholesaling, that's how I started. I always connected investors with clients, and so kind of being like the middleman person in that whole transaction. So it was an easy shift for me because I had already kind of helped people get into the home buying process, and so just building the clientele was the hardest part, but I was able to achieve it. So that's pretty much it.
And as far as your investors go, like how were you, I don't want to say tracking them down, but like how were you finding these people? Was that any part of the process of like leading towards making that shift?
Yeah, so with investors, when I started with wholesaling, I started working with an architect, and the architect obviously was able to pull a lot of different permits and get all those different types of leads. And so we will actually go downtown and go through the books of people who were behind on their taxes. And we will be able to, find their name, their address, and then we will have to backtrace to get their telephone number. And so it was a little bit harder of a grind, but we were able to make it happen. Okay. So that's how we found a lot of our clients that were maybe behind on their taxes, and then connecting them with investors.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting approach to that. Did you learn that from somebody, or was that just kind of an idea you had, or like
I learned
evolved?
I learned it from someone, and so it was challenging, but it really worked. He more or less had like a system that he worked with, and so when I kind of shifted off to myself, I kind of used what I learned connecting with different people, and just being a real estate agent, we have so many different resources that we can use. We don't have to do all those different things, flipping through books anymore. So we can use technology to find different clients and investors too.
Well, one of the things I was asking about earlier was kind of the current state of how the market is. That's one of the biggest things you hear nowadays is, there's low inventory, rates are high, nobody likes them.
Yes.
Kind of describe what you see as how the market is now and kind of how you're working that.
Okay, yeah, so I would say right now, it's still a seller's market. So inventory is still very low. So as soon as a house is, hitting the market, it's the same concept of just getting your buyers out there very quickly. I think right now, buyers are in the point where they are scared of the interest rates, but then you have your other side of buyers that are just like, hey, I'm in an apartment, I'm ready to move, or I'm coming to move to Illinois, I need a house, or I want to move to a different area. And so you have your proactive buyers, and with those proactive buyers, you have to be really fast. And so we're getting into the multiple offer situations, we're getting into the when there is a listing, the showings, they're doing them all in the same day. So there's 20 people when you get there. So that means it may be 15 offers. And so just being proactive and communicating with your clients has been very helpful for me and my buyers to just let them know that if you see something on a Monday, we need to be out there by that Monday. Oh, wow. Don't wait until Friday because it won't last. We're into the multiple offer situation again. And so interest rates are definitely intimidating for people, but like I said, there are some people that, have situations where they have to move, and so they're just ready to go.
I gotcha. Now, you mentioned a couple different times about being quick and kind of moving quickly on this. Do you have a process? I mean, do you prep people for, a certain, hey, this is what we got to go in 24 hours, we got to go.
Yes.
Is there a certain process you have for that?
Yes, I would just say communication. So once I do get a new buyer, I try to see their time frame. So some people may say, hey, I don't need to move until next year, maybe January. So those people, I won't rush them as much. But right now I'm working with a buyer. They're actually my old tenants. So I was a landlord before. Wow. And so they, after I sold their property, they moved to another apartment. And so now their lease expires November 1st. So for instance, that particular buyer, the house that we are currently under contract with, it was a very straightforward communication that if you want this house, we have to be the first one in. We have to be the first one to try to get an offer in. And so just depending on the scenario of the buyer, we have to make sure that we're rushing or we're taking our time, just depending on what their needs are.
Okay. And you've, I mean, obviously that's kind of a unique approach coming from, like you said, being a landlord to now trying to find properties for people to move in and be tenants. Is there one maybe kind of success story or something that's kind of led you down a certain path that was maybe a great lesson for you, anything like that?
Yeah, so just, me having the background of being a landlord and actually doing my fix and flips as well, so flipping properties, I just like to really see what is the need for the person. So some people may be used to renting, and so if you have a first-time home buyer, just being able to communicate with them, walk them through the process. If you have maybe someone that's, bought a house maybe 3 or 4 times, you may not have to go in depth as much as you may have to with the first-time home buyer. But just the process is just, for me, is all about communication. And that's how I build the relationships with my clients, just educating them. There's no question that I don't feel that you shouldn't ask. I think sometimes people are just intimidated by the entire home buying process. And so that's what kind of steers people away. Because I just had a buyer kind of fall off. She's used to renting for probably like the last 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And once we got under contract, we got through the inspection, she just decided, hey, this is not for me. I'm very intimidated by this process. And so she kind of dropped off. So you keep some, but some may fall off along the way. But my approach is always communication and transparency so I can fit their needs.
And you mentioned communicating, with these folks and trying to keep them in the loop, that sort of thing. Is there any specific approach you have to that? Is it kind of like a weekly thing? Is it a daily thing? Does it kind of vary? Maybe some people are going to be different, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just think that it can be daily, especially right before you get under you get under contract. So once we get under contract, it kind of goes toward the attorneys, but I make sure that I'm still keeping everybody in the loop. I'm in communication with the attorneys. I'm in communication with the lenders. When my buyers have questions, I do open that door up for them to, ask me any questions that they may have along the way. And so once you are under contract, I think after that point, the communication kind of goes down just a little bit, but I'm still there for them.
Okay.
So just my approach is just making sure that they're comfortable from step 1 to step 1,000,000 of the home buying process.
Depending on how long it may take.
Depending on how long it takes, absolutely.
That's a lot of good stuff for buyers. Is it a different approach for you with sellers, or is it kind of the same thing? Is it just kind of making sure you're communicating with them? Is there any kind of roadblocks or hurdles to that side of things? Yeah,
so sellers are a little different. So the approach would be more communication at the very beginning. So just figuring out what are they expecting from me to sell their home? Because one listing may be completely different from the other listing. Right now, I have a commercial listing coming up, and so that's completely different than some of my other listings. And so the communication is very important on those listing appointment so that you can understand exactly what the expectations are and you can let them know what you're bringing to the table. And then once you get, a contract from a potential buyer, the communication is just kind of breaking down all the different things from the lending to the time frame of the contract, just that whole process. And so it is a total different shift when you're working with buyers opposed to listings or sellers. And so I'm making sure that I'm staying in communication with them along the way, but it's a little less on the listing side, I would say. Yeah.
Is there, talking with sellers, is there any kind of, viewpoint that you find with sellers as opposed to buyers? I mean, how do sellers right now in this market, how are they looking at things? When they come to you, they say, okay, Kristen, here's what I expect. Is there any kind of certain preconceived notion, I guess?
That's a good question. So I would say sellers right now, since it has been a seller's market for quite some time, sellers, the value of what they may think that their home may be worth, just based on them looking at, on the news or looking at different resources, sometimes you really have to educate sellers mostly on the price of their homes and what's going on in their area so that you can price it to sell, not price it to sit. Because when you see listings sitting, the only reason why in this market is really, I think, my opinion, is because of the price. It can be overpriced. And so I think that sellers typically may think that their house is worth a little bit more, but I think that it's my job to really show them the value and what I can do to get it sold in the quickest time.
And we always hear, there's things out there as far as technology with, sellers say, hey, I heard this, from Zillow, or I saw this online. does that cause a lot of problems? Do you kind of prep people for that, or is it you kind of address it as it pops up? What sort of things go on there?
So me also too, being a real estate agent that was once before just an investor and, buying my first home, I don't shoot down those different resources, but I let them know that as a real estate agent, I definitely have the real facts of what's going on. So if let's just say they say, hey, I looked on Redfin, my house is worth $1 million, right? And on my CMA, my comparative market analysis, it may be worth $700,000. I just like to educate them. So I don't shoot down what they're looking at. I just like to educate them and give them the real facts as to what's going on right now in the market and let them know that I have the expertise opposed to some of those public websites that may not have all the accurate information.
Right, that's local and current, for lack of a better term, I guess.
Yep.
So speaking of technology, is there are there certain tools or certain devices out there, maybe websites that you use or services as far as technology that you feel gives you an edge? Do you want to maybe talk about those as well?
Yeah, definitely. So one of my favorite things, I'm now with Keller Williams, and so we have a system that helps me keep organized. Okay. So every time I get a new client, I'm able to put their information in there. If there's reminders of their inspections or phone calls I need to make, it can pretty much keep me organized with each client. So I really like that. I still do write everything down, but instead of just having a million notebooks, I like to be able to depend on a system that can help my business. And then, of course, there's ChatGPT, so AI, artificial intelligence is like the big thing. And so how I've been using it in my business is to help me with different descriptions, different things that I might want to say in an email, especially when I'm on the go. Okay. I can kind of type in briefly what I may want to say or what I may want to ask, and so it just kind of prints it out. So even questions that you may want to ask on this lovely podcast, you can kind of just say, hey, today I'm going on a podcast, I'm a real estate agent, what are some questions that you think people may want me to answer? And so it just print it all out. And so it's really great. I think that
it's pretty amazing that it can do that.
Yeah, I wish it was around when I was in college and different things like that, so I could have just, printed out everything that I needed to efficiently. But technology is so big. And then, of course, social media is a really big thing for us. And so we have to, stay present and on social media. And so ChatGPT can help with that. Different content ideas, different fall series that you may want to put out there. So right now I'm working on some of my fall content, and so ChatGPT or AI has helped me come up with some little cool, catchy captions to do that as well. So
now you teach a class on AI stuff, right?
So for Women's Council of Realtor South Suburban, we did have a training with our lovely Carrie Little. So she came in and educated our group about ChatGPT or artificial intelligence, and so that was very helpful. And that was kind of my first time getting educated. Yeah. So I was in the crowd at my own event, taking some notes to try to figure out how to incorporate it into my business.
And are you trying to, with that AI stuff, is that something you're continually trying to improve upon? Is it getting into every aspect of your business? How has that grown or evolved in the last year or so?
Yeah, not quite yet. For me, I still need to educate myself a little bit more on it because I know that it can do way more for me than what I'm doing now. And so I'm looking to learn some more things, get some more education so I can incorporate it on a day-to-day basis for my business. And so I see the potential. I just got to get there. Yeah.
So how do you, with all that stuff, it seems like it can be confusing. Everybody, we're bombarded with this stuff all the time. Yeah. How do you stay on top of, we'll say, developing trends or new technologies? What's one maybe way that you do that, or do you have a couple different processes for that to stay on top of that stuff?
That's a good question. So I would say in this world of all these different things that we can learn, I just try, when I am at seminars or I'm at educational events, my approach is if you learn 10 things, maybe try to take 3 at a time to try to apply to your business. I realize when I'm out and I'm getting educated and I'm at these networking events, I learn so much, but I'm not able to apply every single thing that I learned. So my new approach is that when I am at these seminars or educational events, I want to take it and break down the 3 that will work for my business and try to do it on a monthly basis. So at the end of the month, I'll say, hey, what did I learn at the beginning of the month? What can I apply next month? And try to just, instead of just trying to bombard everything. Because it's overwhelming.
You get overloaded with it.
Yeah, you get overloaded. So just for me, just applying what works for me at that time and then just trying to grow and build off of that.
So just little chunks, so to speak. And just say, okay, I'm going to actively engage in like you said, maybe 2 or 3 things just this month, and then let's evaluate. Is that a good way to put it?
That's the perfect way to put it. Because other than that, you'll just, you have AI, you have to post on Facebook, social media, then you have TikTok, and you can't do it all, right? And so just try to figure out the best process for you, what works for you, and then just grow from there. So that's my approach right now in this season.
And it seems to be working for you.
It's working okay. It's working okay.
Now, you mentioned networking, and so obviously you and I have met on several other occasions for different events.
Yes.
Talk to me about just not what you do specifically, but how have you used that for your business? How do you use that to grow your practice?
Yeah, so networking is everything. So I always make sure that I carry a card. Funny story, I just got back from Jamaica yesterday. I was on the transportation and going back to the airport, and was talking to a guy right across the seat from me. Come to find out, he's an attorney. He's been in the field for 40 years. He works here in the south suburbs.
Oh, wow.
And it was a great connection. He's very into the different townships, and he is going to help me in some projects that I currently have going on. And so just really networking for me is everything, because you never know who you may meet. Just those small conversations, just letting people know, like, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Illinois. This is what I do. Passing out your cards, supporting other people's businesses and events that they have coming up has really helped me grow my business.
Yeah.
And it just starts from that quick conversation of just introducing yourself. I've been very successful with being able to do that and meeting people, even if it's something that I don't need. Maybe it's something that can service my clients. And so going to different events, trying to support your local area so you can be up to date as what's going on. And so I'm a huge networker, but just learning how to work the room is the biggest thing. You can't meet everyone, but if you meet 5 people out of 100 people in the room, just try to make those people, your go-to people for whatever services that they are able to provide for you.
Make it count. Try to get something cooking with them in the next month or so.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned WCR, Women's Council for Realtors.
Yeah.
What are some of the other organizations that you're working with and you try to do this networking with?
Yeah, so of course you all, the title company, different attorneys, companies, lenders, just try to make sure that I'm all around the board, making sure that I'm able to service my clients and be involved. I've really been focused on Women's Council of Realtors South Suburban because that's my heart. We grew that organization, so I've been the president of that organization for the last year and a half. We're getting ready for elections now and our installation, and so as I kind of drift off from that, I'll start getting more involved with Main Street, YPN, different organizations that I've kind of had my eye on, but my focus was on Women's Council of Realtors, so I haven't had much involvement in other organizations so far. It's just been Women's Council for me so far.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff, right? You're doing the networking. We've got some technology. AI obviously is a big component. One of the things we were talking about earlier was the advice you would give to new or incoming brokers, or maybe brokers that have been doing it for maybe less than 2 years. Do you have like a certain framework that you think these folks should be following?
Yeah,
what
definitely.
sort of things do you think about there?
Yeah, so I would say, and not pitching my Women's Council, but I would say being in an organization for realtors is essential. It really helped me grow my business because I've only been a real estate agent for 2 years. And before I got into Women's Council, I was doing okay. But it seems like once I came into this organization, I put myself in a room full of lenders, attorneys, title companies, inspectors, whatever you can think of. And it really helped me get the confidence to provide those services for my clients. So when I first started, I think I might have had one inspector, I might have had one lender, one attorney. And so now that I have some repeat clients and they come, I have a list of different people that they can choose from. And so as a brand new real estate agent, I would say, even if you haven't even sold one home yet, don't lose focus or lose your confidence. Just go in those rooms, continue to make yourself be seen, continue to meet more people, because you never know. You may meet a lender in that room that may say, hey, you know what? Actually, I just got a new pre-approved buyer that's in your area, that's in Frankfurt or in Matson or whatever you may live, whatever area you may live in, and they may send you a lead, and you have to be ready. And so if you're not ready, you'll feel overwhelmed. Yeah. So if you are at some of those organization and networking events and you have your lender, you have your inspector, you have your attorneys, you're ready to go. So I would just say making sure that as a new agent, I just would say get educated as much as you can and try to be in the room with the people that are doing the similar things that you're doing. So
just trying to meet these folks and just kind of maybe forcing your hand a few times to just meet somebody new. And
yes.
I mean, that's how we met initially,
That's
right?
how we met, yeah. Right? And here we are. So, I just think networking and just being in the right rooms and asking questions and just kind of getting your buddies, getting good friends that maybe they've been in the industry for 10 plus years. You can learn so much from people and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Sure.
Yeah, because when you're new, I know when I was brand new, I was a little intimidated because I was in the room with all these ladies and men that have been doing it for so long, and I was intimidated. Mm-hmm. But once I kind of got over that and started asking questions and try to, figure out what would work for me, I think that's where my success came from.
That's fantastic. Is there thoughts on the future of real estate? Where do you kind of see all this going? With everything that's going on with the networking and technology, where do you kind of see this going?
Yeah, so for me personally, I see a lot of entrepreneurs. I think with COVID, a lot of people started their businesses. In my generation, a lot of people left their 9-to-5s. They started different businesses that they probably wanted to start. At the time, people didn't have a choice because everything shut down. Yeah. So for me, I'm seeing a lot of investors. I'm seeing a lot of people that want to have residual income. They want to set up the generational wealth. And so I think that, of course, I work with a lot of first-time home buyers and things like that, but investors are coming out to me and reaching out to me almost weekly. So I just see the future of real estate. Well, people will have, their family home that they live in, but people are also going to want to seek out different things to bring in income. I think that's pretty much the season that we're in, and I think it'll continue to grow. So I'm really excited to ride that wave of being a personal investor and then helping people grow their portfolios as well. So, and as far as AI and technology, I don't know. We'll probably have robots being able to open up our doors very soon, but I think the technology is going to continue to grow, and I think it's going to be in a situation that will continue to help real estate agents grow their business through things like AI and technology.
Okay. And obviously there's a lot of things going on out there. Do you see, when you look at all that, what you just described, do you see is there a single biggest challenge out there? Is it a couple things? What do you really see would be maybe some hurdles to folks when you talk about generational wealth and first-time home buyers and that type of stuff? Is there one kind of oh my gosh, if we could get around this, everything's going to be downhill from here? Is it that kind of thing, or is it more incremental changes?
I would just say, Scott, I would say being educated. A lot of people think they see all these different investors. They see people having multi-family properties. They see people having Airbnbs, and just really taking that step out. I think the biggest hurdle from what I've seen in my career so far was just not having the resources, education, and having the savings. And so, making sure that you have the savings, the credit, and working with a realtor that has a lot of experience in the field too, as far as investing. And so I do take pride in that because I'm investing as we speak into real estate as well. And so just really having that safety net of having someone that you feel comfortable with making one of the biggest purchases of your life probably. And so that coupled with all the other stuff you're doing with the networking and trying to stay on top of all these things, you feel that's something that you can bring to these investors and these sellers? Is that kind of a major thing you kind of count as an arrow in your quiver, so to speak? I would say so, just because when somebody does close on a home, I'm able to provide them with all of my lovely contractors. So whether it's landscaping company, plumber, electrician, whatever you can think of, I've been able to build that over the years. And so I do feel very confident when I do get a first-time investor. That's kind of my real, that's my baby. When I get one of those, I really like that just because I was there before. And even though I've invested over the last 5 years, there's always room to grow. And so when I get someone that's kind of, nervous, they're a newbie, I really like that because I feel like I was there before. And even though I am where I am now, I'm still able to help them grow. And
you feel like you can help them take those steps because, hey, I did it too. And I did it too. Hey, I screwed stuff up and I've done stuff wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just, believing in yourself and taking that step out on faith, just, not being scared, because if you're in the back corner, you'll never get past that first step.
True. Well, sometimes having somebody else show you that is a big hurdle for people, that if you can show them, hey, I screwed this up, or I did, hey, here's what I wouldn't do. Sometimes that's more helpful than what you would do.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've come across that yourself, but.
Yeah, definitely. And just, being able to take accountability and saying, hey, I messed up here. There's different things on my flip right now that I'm doing currently. I made a small mistake, but we fixed it quickly. But just being able to come over those hurdles and learning, hey, next time I'll take this approach, not being intimidated by a mistake. Because if you don't make any mistakes, you would be that robot that I was just talking about. But that's part of the game. And so as a real estate agent, I do take pride in being able to help people grow. And that's how I build my relationships. And that's why I have repeat clients in my business. And so just being able to help them, educate them, and provide them with the resources.
That's fantastic. Yeah. As far as your practice itself, your vision for your business, where do you see it going, or where do you want it to be, say, in the upcoming years here?
Okay, so one of my things, I want to grow more investors. I want to be more of an investor too. I want to invest in different areas. Hopefully I can do internationally one day. We just had an event on that too with Women's Council. But I think that one thing that I really want to start, I want to get licensed in Florida so that I can start a relocation program for people that are leaving the cold Chicago area and moving to Florida. So getting my license there should be pretty simple. That's something I'm working on in the next couple of years. And just growing in different areas of real estate. I want to sell more where I live in my market. I live in Frankfurt. So that's something I'm currently working on, just kind of being the go-to real estate agent in my area. And so over the next couple of years, I just think that I'll grow more investor clients, more first-time home buyers, and just hopefully the relocation of Florida.
Okay. Is there any particular thing you think would be the biggest kind of, I don't want to say hurdle, but what would be the biggest thing to help you grow all of that to get into Florida and do these kind of step-up programs?
Yeah.
Do you think there's one specific thing you need to focus on? Is there any kind of thing you're looking at? Or
Yeah, I would just say time management. Time management with all these different things that we're talking about. Time management and making things, knowing what is a priority and knowing what can kind of wait is the biggest thing. So managing the networking event, managing, running an organization. I'm a mom, different things like that. And so time management and just really setting those goals and giving yourself realistic deadlines too. So for instance, I know I want to be licensed in Indiana, which is right around the corner from us, but I haven't done that yet. But just kind of making that my winter and fall project, and then maybe next year for Florida. So just really focusing on my business as it is now, and then just figuring out when is it time for me to take that next step for my next set of goals.
Yeah. Okay, so you're doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You've got all these different groups. We've met at different stuff. You're talking about networking. Where is the best way, or how is the best way to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So calling. Call me on the phone. Get me on the phone. All my information is on my social media. So calling. I love to talk on the phone. Texting is fine because I'm usually driving. But when you do shoot me a text, I'm usually
Safety
driving.
First.
Yeah, doing 100. Like, hey, okay, where are you at? Are you at a house? Okay, let's get the door open. Different things like that. So I'm a real big conversation person. So I like to be able to, take the time out, making sure that I'm not on the road, making sure that I'm focused on the conversation so I can properly take my notes, so to better help my clients. And so a call is good. If I'm not able to get on the call, I'll sort of shoot a quick text. Emails are okay, but we do have 1 million emails that come through daily. And so my biggest thing is just communication is best for me on the phone.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you coming out today, and we hope to help you grow this practice for you.
Thank you so much for having me.